First off, hi, it's been a while. Thanks for being here. Second, the Rugrats are back in the spotlight again due to, well, this. That's sure one way to make a statement. Last year I spoke about the Rugrats spin-off All Grown Up, which focuses on the Rugrats themselves a bit older dealing with a batch of new growing up issues. Please feel free to go ahead and check out that video. I'm really proud of that one. Now, All Grown Up was an example of a backdoor pilot that worked, and for those who need a refresher or don't necessarily know what that is, a backdoor pilot is an episode of a TV show, most likely a successful one, where they would test the audience to see if there was enough interest in creating a spin-off of the main show. Usually by adding a new character or having another character move away and hey, maybe we can go and follow what they're gonna go do now, or whatever they can come up with that would lead to something else being made. But All Grown Up wasn't the only spin-off to come from the vast success of the Rugrats. In fact, in the later few seasons of the show, when episodes were released sporadically and out of order, an episode titled Preschool Days premiered on January 21st, 2002, in which we focused specifically on Angelica and Susie on their first day of preschool. While the main core Rugrats do make appearances, they are very brief to serve as the joke to Angelica not being around as much and give this backdoor pilot its own time to shine. But at this time, you have to look at where the Rugrats were. Like I said, episodes were released out of order and it became unclear what season contained what episode sometimes. And depending on where you look, you may see different answers. Technically, this episode was supposed to be the season 7 finale, but didn't premiere until season 8 was already underway. That means that this episode premiered after the All Grown Up season 8 opener 2-part special. But Preschool Days was actually supposed to always premiere in the correct order, but for unknown reasons was held back, and All Grown Up took all of the excitement in for a new Rugrats show. Clearly, All Grown Up became a reality, premiering as its own show, running for 5 seasons. But what of the plans for Preschool Days? According to press releases from Nickelodeon, Preschool Days was going to be the first spin-off of the Rugrats, and there was certainly a team working on and writing what that show would be. But thanks to the focus on All Grown Up, Preschool Days became a last priority and was only relegated to 4 special episodes that would release partly on both of the Rugrats Tales from the Crib special DVDs. Whether it was a lack of faith in the project, the network not picking it up, or the studio only wanting to focus on All Grown Up, the show never really got its day in the spotlight. The backdoor pilot episode of Preschool Days isn't so bad. It keeps the same humor you know and love from the Rugrats itself, just now focusing on the first day of preschool for Angelica and Susie. And while we've seen many episodes of these two having their rivalry butt heads, this episode truly feels like there is a purpose for it. Them being both in a new environment, both wanting to be the best student in class, and both learning how to problem solve through working together, all the while retaining the core elements that make their characters them. And we also get introduced to Harold, a kind-hearted kid who will do anything for Angelica. Something that was cool to see transfer from the Rugrats to Preschool Days and then on to All Grown Up, where it played the biggest role. So at least the continuity here is structured well, unlike the release order of the Rugrats episodes, but I digress. This one standalone episode was fun, and I think it works as just that, because within the 4 episodes that came to be of this spin-off, showcased the larger complications that come with focusing on only a couple of the Rugrats. You notice something there? Yeah, right off the bat, you can see that this doesn't look like the Rugrats. Well, it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't, if that makes sense. I think the biggest thing being the smoothed out, less imperfect edges of the characters and the world around them, as well as it feels a little bit more Nick Jr.-ish. It's hard to describe. Look, it just doesn't feel like the Rugrats or All Grown Up with the animation that it has. I feel as even though the new 3D look has somewhat of the original Rugrat DNA within it more than this show. Now, while it is jarring, it's not horrible, and by no means a put-off if the show itself is entertaining enough. It carries over the same characters from Preschool Days' main series episode and changes up their looks just a little bit. Even Angelica and Susie are made to look a bit different, most likely to convey the passing of time and them growing up just a little bit, and these stories were solely told within the walls of the community center where the preschool is located, and this felt very similar to early Rugrats taking place within only a room or two within the house. And I think this was a really smart way to take the series, in my opinion. But unlike the Rugrats, the supporting cast of preschoolers don't serve as great or enthralling substitutes. Yes, I know all this stuff sounds silly, saying cartoon preschoolers aren't entertaining for my sophisticated adult brain, but this new cast of characters, minus Harold, don't add enough to the overall show, with a lot of the characters acting in ways that felt more childish than even the babies in the Rugrats. Which again, sounds absolutely absurd to say, but it deals with more simple writing, I feel. That doesn't mean it's truly bad or anything, just less captivating, and it loses that wonder-like aspect of the main series. And that's where I think the real reason starts to show itself. Without having Tommy, Chucky, Phil, Lil, etc., and not having these imaginative adventures to convey their stories, you're just left with Angelica and Susie, both being older than the rest and already having to worry about real-world things. Like preschool for one. They weren't running around a house trying to solve a mystery about Spike or something anymore. Instead, they were gaining knowledge. Or having nap time. It felt like there was less of a purpose for what they wrote these characters to do. Now, we know there is a frenemy-like aspect to Angelica and Susie. They have their bouts, but they were always friends by the end of the day. Angelica we've known to be overly impatient and bossy, and Susie to be a hard worker who is compassionate towards others. And none of that really got too much during the main series of the Rugrats, as the majority of the episodes focus on all of the characters and not just those two. And it would also be used sparingly and at the right moments when needed rather than all the time. And unfortunately, the flanderization of these characters, the over-exaggeration of their character traits until it's the only main characteristic, ends up being what hurts the show the most. Again, when it comes to the actions they do within these 4 episodes, it feels less like there's a purpose following these characters at this point in their life, when if we just wait and see them in around 10 years, the substance and importance of following their stories again makes more sense. When Angelica gets angry or bossy, it feels less because the story warranted it and more like, oh, she's just angry. Because. And Susie acts less like her own person and more of the looking for the good in people and it becoming her sole personality trait. Juxtapose this show with what All Grown Up was, a show with all of the characters once again aging them up to give them newer perspectives on life and doing the whole school thing anyway, but with more thoroughly written characters as they all get their moments to be fleshed out. Well, I mean, we did get the origin story of Harold having a crush on Angelica and his rise to tier 3 sub power.
It's like she give me conference.
You stupid.
Anyway, it's easy to see why one show had more than 4 episodes and to see why one show was swiftly abandoned. And to be clear, this isn't to say that Preschool Days was bad. It isn't. It's far from awful. But it's clear when taking 2 characters and separating them from their surroundings that help build them up and have no strong purpose for them on their own, then what are we doing here? And putting it all together, looking at it for what it is, stories that ultimately feel forgettable and have no purpose, mixed with a new look for the Rugrats entirely, kinda give it credence to the name Preschool Days. Because it feels like a fever dream that didn't really happen.
That was fun! Can I do it again? No!
Thank you so much for watching. I haven't made content for a while, so this was a fun one to make, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button for me. I really appreciate it. I will cover the new Rugrats reboot, revival, whatever it is when it drops. If you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments below. Until next time, later.